Welcome students, we are going to learn today about the seals of Indus Valley civilization. The study of the seals would enable us to know the kind of cultural contributions made in the society, the political standing, the level of economic and social developments that had occurred. The seals were not alone a mark of ownership, sovereignty, but an important tool in trade and to demarcate one tribe from the other as well. The time period from where the seals belong to is circa 2500 to 1500 BC. The areas under the central region are Jhukkar, Kotdiji, Channudaro and Surkotla. Western side are Sotka, Boh and Sutkangendo. Eastern side are Alamgir, Kalibanga and Ropar. Southern side are Lothal and Rangpur. Two significant cultures that dominate the Indus Valley are the regions adjacent the river Zuab and Kuli civilizations. The people migrating into the northwestern region brought along with their traditions, art, beliefs, possessions, culture, etc. The culture was characterized by the matriarchy and a cult of productive powers of nature and a mother goddess, and by the great development of the acts of design. The art of Indus Valley culture received the confluence of Sumer. The Indus Valley civilization had two main centers in the first stage, that is formative stage, is circa 2800 to 2500 BC. Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro, the hill of the dead, accompanied by a multitude of smaller towns like Channudaro. The port Lothal was provided with large brick dry docks, dams and leading facilities at different levels. In the mature phase, circa 2500 to 2200 BC, other places where the remains of this or similar cultures have been found lying below the remains of Harappa settlements are Amri, Kotdiji, Gumla in Gomal Valley and Kalibanga. The script found here has about 3000 short inscriptions at the sites of Indus Valley civilization. These range from single character to 20 characters, and the maximum length of the inscription is 26 characters in 3 lines. Most of the writings are on seals but have been found on copper plates as well as graffito on pottery. The writing was left to right. The civilization of the Indus has a strong influence of the tribes from north like the Elamites, Susians, Babylonians, Assyrians, Achaemenids, the Hellenistic and Saracenic. The inhabitants were Aborigines, Negroids, Dravidians, Minavras and Aryans. They were essentially nature worshippers, so their religious ceremonies included the worship of gods and deities that originated from man, mother goddess, animal, spirits, demon, fairies, kinnar, ghosts, totems, Hindu gods, etc. The Indus pictograms with those at the Proto-Elamite and archaic Sumerian scripts suggest that the Indus civilization might be generally related to Mesopotamia. Now let's understand the relationship of Mesopotamia and Indus and how the trade had continued. The seaborne trade and links to Mesopotamia. The Indus Valley civilization used to receive a large part of its requirements of raw material, most probably from other parts of India, Afghanistan, eastern Iran and the likes. The Harappan contacts with Mesopotamia suggest a casual and indirect exchange. The main evidence of the maritime trade with the West Asia is the existence of dock at Lothal. There are two representations to prove the existence of boats. A rough drawing sketched on a sherd of pottery and carefully executed engraving on a seal, and that shows a vessel apparently made of reeds. A list of articles of West Asian manufacture found in the Harappa areas has been given at length by a noted writer, Wheeler. Among these are a few Mesopotamian types. They are boxes in form found at Mohenjo-Daro. Another important writer, Pigot, has conjectured slave girls that were brought to the above areas. So far as Harappan materials in Mesopotamia are concerned, there are mainly seals, sealings and seal imitations found at such places as the Ur, Umma, Asmar, Kish, etc. Indo-Mesopotamian contact is also sought to be proved by finding of carnelian beads, metal blades, metal spiral, pins, dice, male figurines and stone vases. It is possibility from the availability of seals that there were contacts between Persian Gulf with Mesopotamia and then Indus. A seal is a small mold that has a stamped impression upon it. It came in different sizes. The commonly found seals from Indus Valley culture are square, rectangular, the circular forms, tabloid form, oblong and round. The flat face of the seal was decorated with a motif of an animal, figurine or an inscription in pictographic script. Many a time the swastik design and the trishul appear on the seal, thereby pointing out the religious bias and following in the region. A coating of smooth glossy glaze was added to it once the seal was ready. Approximately 2000 seals have been recovered from various sites in the Indus Valley. The material used to make them is steatite, faience, limestone, clay, ivory and terracotta. The process was for a steatite to be cut into the design shaped by a saw. The boss was then rounded off after the groove by a knife and finished off with an abrasive. The design appears to have been cut by a tool, usually burin. The body was first carved before outlining other parts. That completed the process of making a seal. The material varied as per the patronage and the dictate of the head of the tribe. Now let's see the significance of these seals. The main use of the seals was as some form of merchandise and marking on the cargoes. Some of these seals may also have had other commercial uses. Certain animals, including a mythical beast which looks like a unicorn, seems to have been stock types in the repertoire of the engravers, and one of the other was selected by a trader for his seal. To this was added a combination of pictographs as required by the merchant to make the seal distinctive. Perhaps the lettering on the seals was no more than varying combinations of well understood symbols so arranged as to differentiate the seal of one trader from that of the other. Seals bearing only a script have been found, and this may suggest that the script was more important in a seal than the animal figurine. Some of these seals may have been used as amulets, and some may have become some religious or ritualistic motive. The main settlements of Harappa, Mohenjo-Daro, Lothal, etc. are at considerable distances from one another. In all probability, they traded among themselves. The main function of Indus Valley seals was not religious but purely economic. The seals were identifying symbols and signs of authority. Wilson J.V. Kinnear, 1974, a noted writer, says they were not amulets. Some of the scholars are of the opinion that the parent of Indus script was the Brahmi script. The pictographic script was not deciphered till late. Some of the characters that have been identified, and they are about 200 signs that are seen here which can be understood. Some symbols are of a fish, a horn, a shell and a flower, etc. The pictographic means script containing visuals or pictures. Part of fertility ritual is seen, that is depicted on these seals. There is a strong connection to the nature gods and the man that found answers to his problems from the mother nature. The worship of mother goddess before beginning any new work was a kind of routine for the devotee. The main deity was Shiva Pashupati, the god of animals. The animals depicted on the seals have the vibrating and pulsating energy corresponding to the animal depicted therein. The seal was identification and mark of possession on one hand and a cult practice on the other. To impose the protective taboo upon the merchandise too was its purpose. Now let's see and understand the subject matter. The Indus Valley seals exhibit the animals like rhinoceros, elephants, tigers, antelope and imaginary animals too like the unicorn. The short-horned bull and Brahmi bull, kadayal, goat, bull, etc. were often seen. Seals showing composite figure and tree are of importance. The conglomerate images were to show the merged powers and both the forms conjoined. Noted art historian Stella Kremresch says there are peculiar associations of the tree with the human figure, wherefrom Indian motifs might have evolved. Several seals are itiphalic, which means more than 3 heads. A goat is seen from the Indus with 3 heads carved on the seal. The goat head seems to be in movement, left, right and then center. Multiplicity of the heads is depicted to highlight the power of the deity and the animal. The few important seals are as follows. Mother Goddess, that is a sealing which we need to look into. It is made of steatite, which is portrayed by a semi-nude female figure of the mother. The mother is being worshipped for fertility. She is shown wearing a girdle around her loins. The headdress is elaborate and Mother Goddess is shown as the tutelary goddess. The large seal represents a goddess among the leaves of an Ashwatha tree. The headdress is suggestive of a lunar divinity. In the foreground is a similar figure in adoration that seems to be dragging a bull-like being with a bull or a human head and zigzag horns to be sacrificed. 7 attendants is characteristic costumes follow with a saddle cloth. Upturned female figure is another seal which we need to look into. A woman is shown upside down as a seal and a plant is shown issuing from her womb. Human sacrifice seems to take place in front of the earth goddess. A river is seen gushing out from the mother's womb. The bifurcated branch of a peepal tree depicts Mother Goddess. The great seems to have been shown in one corner. A pictographic script which is inclusive of images and symbols seems to be indicative of the illustration on it. As the script is not entirely deciphered, for there is much controversy amongst scholars on what the script says. The visual is dominant and self-explanatory to the thoughts of the artist. Another seal that we need to look into is the 3-faced deity. Shiv is a divine yogi and as such derives his power from yoga rather than from sacrifices. Plant and animal fertility was considered the boons emanating from the worship of Shiv. Bull is identified as his vehicle. A deity is seen seated cross-legged with a horned headdress. He is referred to as the tricephalous god as he is adorned with 3 horns. The phallus is in erection and the 7 letters of the pictographic script are seen to emphasize perhaps the 7 rivers. The animals that surround the deity are elephant, tiger, buffalo, deer and rhinoceros. This seal can be understood as the Trimukh Pashupati, Yogeswara or the Math Yogi, the Mahayogi. The seated yogi is seated in Padmasana, which unmistakably links to Shiva. He is shown in inverted perspective as he is depicted much larger in size than the animals accompanying him. The deity is worshipped for fertility and protection, highlighting the iconic and phallic worship. Stella Kremresch, a noted writer, says concerning the understanding of the seals that other devices on the seals and sealings on terracotta are also relevant, if as motifs only. For the future, the centrifugal combination of various figures or their parts diverging from one center. The many-headed divinity and the standing figure with long arms so that they touch the knees, and the over-high heads of the goddess which anticipates the Ushnisha, and the make of sitting and the part played by a naga or the serpent, and the alignment of the repeated figures, as well as freely symmetrical arrangement of single figure on the surface of the relief. This emphasizes how the artist created his work. He was inspired by nature and he had no academic training to draw the motifs, but by instinct and reverence he created them on the surface. Seal with a unicorn is another seal which is highlighting the imaginary part of it. Humped bull is seen that appears to be like an ordinary bull, but yet is a fraction of an imagination of the artist. The seal representing the big humped bull is shown with the crescent horns and thick heavy dewlap, that is the fat. It was found from Mohenjo-Daro. There is seen a vigorous dynamism in the form. The powerful form was outlined by sure and strong hand. The volume is shown vibrating with energy. It is preserved in the National Museum at Karachi. Seal of a humped bull needs to be looked into, and the horns are like the crescent. The dewlap or the fat or the hanging adipose seems to exude energy and the power of the bull. Sir John Marshall, a noted art historian, writes that the figurines are characteristically Indian. The pent-up energy was exuded through its powerful horns. The muscles seem to ripple with energy. Small ring stones suggest that the worship of the yoni, the female symbol of generative energy, was also prevalent. The Vedic religion was originally aniconic, though the worship of icons arising at a later stage. Miscellaneous seals that are of importance are mythical animals, semi-human figurines, and ambiguous animals like the bison or rhinoceros. Not very well known animals like the unicorn, zebia, and the short-horned bull too were seen in the seal form. Vedic sacrificial altars, great baths, ceremonial ablutions, and traces of Nag worship too have been seen on the seals, with the pictographic script inscribed on it. Large steatite seal for negative stamping with a typical Indus Valley unicorn is seen from 3rd BC at National Museum, Karachi. The hollow for inlays and possibly of semi-precious stones, perhaps. Rather than it being a seal, the dish was an ornament or a badge. The characteristic features that we need to look into are the compositions on the seals, the figurines, the animals, beer and illustrations, technique of depiction. The artist had a thorough knowledge of human anatomy. The negative and positive space was well defined. There was no overcrowding of the forms. The compositions were proportionate in depiction and did not focus only on the idealization of the form. It seemed that they modeled them with their hands. The figurines were solid with naturalistic representation. The animal engravings on the seals are often of high order and evoke our admiration. Seal engraving was a specialized craft in these trading settlements, and the demand for this accessory of commerce often led to the making of seals with intaglio of real artistic merit. The seals are mostly of steatite. At Lothal, the sealings were found to be baked in a brick kiln and were known to facilitate their use on the merchandise. The hole in the seal was for tying it to the merchandise. Seals may also have been used on some kind of substance which dries rapidly, like seal is used on a sealing wax. In conclusion, students, we need to learn that man was considered to be composed of Aap, earth, Hishti, water, Marut, fire, Vyom, air. Life and deaths were part of how we partake and return to the divine. A mandala chart seems to be made by these 4 animals with Shiv Pashupati. He is shown seated on a high throne, and the animals like the elephant, rhinoceros, tiger and buffalo are docile before him. The mother goddess is shown being worshipped with animal sacrifices for the fertility rites. We understand the cultural, social and economic conditions of the social groups. An insight into their interest, trades, lifestyle is understood here. The seal in their own right are proof enough of the power and authority that tribes exercised in their respective areas. The study of the seals and coins help us to know about the society and how it had been the product of a rationalistic and commercial society, highly organized and stratified into classes which must have corresponded to the different ethnic group forming. Thank you.